Hi, and welcome to the Mormon Meat Locker. I'm one of your hosts, Cable the Party Jenkins. I have my co-host, Caroline Kingsley, with me.
Hello.
And
And
today our guest is Candy from California. Tell us about yourself, Candy.
I love that I'm Candy from California. Hi, Cable. Hi, Caroline. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I guess I'm Candy from California. My last name is Tolentino, and I've been a member of the church for 8 years. So I definitely am a convert. And I'm really, really interested in this topic because it's been something that has been talked about so much in the mid-single scene, and it's definitely affected my life and my dating journey since I've been divorced. I've been divorced about a year, and I'm also a business owner, and in business I'm very confident, I'm very decisive, I'm very take no prisoners. And I realized if only I could be the same way with dating as I am in the business world, things would probably go a lot smoother. So there
That's
you
an interesting analogy. Actually really like that. I'll have to think more about that. That might need its own podcast.
go.
So
Right?
so like we mentioned, well, I guess in the title of it, that tell us a little bit about what exactly we are going to be talking about.
Okay, great. So in order to launch into a conversation about the scarcity mindset, I think maybe it would be good to kind of define what it is and to talk about how it's affected me in good ways and in bad ways. So I will say this. When I became a member of the church, one of the early things that I heard about at church and in Relief Society and in dating circles was how few men there were in comparison to the number of women, how few worthy priesthood holders there were, and how just difficult it was to find a really good guy. And I would hear the same thing actually from the men, ironically, that it was really difficult to find a girl who was the total package, like sweet, intelligent, strong testimony, attractive, whatever they were looking for, it was difficult to find. And so I am putting that mindset under the umbrella of the scarcity mindset. So for all of us who think that there isn't an abundance of what we need or what we're looking for, that is the scarcity mindset.
And I think it's interesting. I hear the same thing all the time, that there's so many girls for every guy. And it's interesting because a lot of the things I attend is actually maybe mostly men. And I think it just depends on the activity and day of the week, because a lot of things I think women don't attend as much during the week because of children. But then I'll go to church on Sunday, and then it feels like it's just rows of women and then like a guy, a token guy in each row, maybe two. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I ever gonna find anyone amidst all this? But I don't know. For the most part, I feel like I tend to have the abundance mindset, I think, which I don't think we've gone into, which is the opposite, right? Of just have there's plenty to go around. I mean, you did mention, but I have liked it among women such as yourself, that I feel like there hasn't been that competitiveness, which is nice. I feel like a lot of women do behave in such a way that, like, it's guys are going to choose who they're going to choose. We don't have to compete over these people. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing to keep in mind as we're dating.
Well, and the question that I would ask here is what are the activities that we're going to? Because if you're going to a yoga class activity, I mean, and are you really going to be surprised that there's 20 girls and 2 guys there? I mean, if you want to meet guys, like, honestly, my movie nights that I do every Tuesday, lately it seems like there's more guys than girls. I don't really count the numbers, but that's just the way it seems to me, because whether it's just that they can get there and the women can't, or for whatever reason, it seems like there's more guys there. So, and then there was activities recently for Super Bowl and college national championship. I mean, sports-centric kind of activities, looking for more guys, that might be the way to go. So I think we also have to look at what type of activities. Now, obviously, church, that's kind of everyone's going to be there. But outside of that, look at what type of activities you're going to, because that could tell you a lot about whether it's going to be an abundance of men or women.
Good point. I was actually going to ask Caroline, tell us what activities you're going to. If it's
I'm going to Cable's activities. And it is. It's, well, and again, I think a lot because maybe they're during the week, or maybe some of the movies seem to appeal more to men. But I go, and it's not like it's all men and me, which would be fantastic. I wouldn't complain. But there's a good mix. But I do feel like there's maybe a few more men. Or I'll go to the dinners that sometimes Cable has beforehand, and sometimes the guys will complain, like, you know, where are all the women? And I don't think about it till then. Then I'm like, well, you know, I think it's all right. I don't mind. But I think that when you go to a variety of activities, some are going to be more women, some are going to be more men. Sometimes you go to house parties, and it's a guy house party, and he just has more female friends. It's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. I think when you just put yourself out there, you go to different places. I've been telling some of my female friends, like, we got to have a girls' night out, but we should be going to Buffalo Wild Wings. That's what, you know, surround ourselves. It's all men there.
Seriously, I want to learn to golf for this very reason, because
That's smart. I only miniature at this point.
Lots of successful men are golfers. Just saying. I'm just going to put that out there. But one thing that I wanted to talk about, and kind of sharing my story and why this topic is interesting to me, and why I'm a student of this topic. I will say I'm definitely a student, and in no way a master. But I will say this. So when I first started my business, I have a healthy desserts company, and I started it about maybe 12 or 13 years ago. I had no background whatsoever in entrepreneurship. I had no training. I had no culinary degree. I had no contacts. I had no distribution. I basically had nothing, right? But an idea. I had a product, and I had an idea. I had a belief about this product. And so I called up Whole Foods. And at the time, Whole Foods didn't carry any raw vegan products. So my product is about as niche and as specific as you can get. And so I was trying to pitch a product to them that they had never heard of, that they had no kind of what they thought they had no demand for, they had no paradigm for, and they had no shelf space for. That was A. And B, I was nobody. I didn't have a representative, a broker, I didn't have a distributor, but I had this knowing, like, of course this is going to change your life. Of course you're going to give this product a try. Like, it just didn't even occur to me that I could fail, because I didn't know enough to know that I didn't know anything and that I was completely unequipped. And what's interesting is before I joined the church, rather, I had a similar mindset about dating. Like, I didn't even know what the rules were or what the statistics were. I didn't care. I had come from this kind of like a rough, I mean, everybody we know has a rough childhood, right? Including me. Like, I had a rough childhood. I had a father who was very emotionally abusive, and I was witness to a relationship between my parents, who were married until the day my mom died. So they were together like 50 years, these two people. And I was witness to my mom not being put on a pedestal, and my mother not being treated the way I would want to be treated in a relationship. So as such, I had, like I said, I didn't know rules. I didn't know like anything about the proper way to date, and I didn't have any apprehension about it. I only knew that I wasn't going to settle for anything less than being treated the way that I wanted to be treated. And in my mind, there was an abundance of men. Men were a dime a dozen. There were men clamoring on every street corner. And dating wasn't a problem. It was never a problem. In fact, it was like a sport, you know, when I was in my 20s. And for me and all my girlfriends, and I live in LA, which is a city which is pretty tough to date. And there's this ideal of beauty, right? And everybody's a size 0, and everybody's like blonde and beautiful, like Carolyn and Caroline, and everyone, you know what I mean? Like, and everybody's probably really starving themselves and
probably.
But the ideal, the image is that, you know, people are perfect. There's lots of plastic surgery. There's lots of money here. And it just never even occurred to me that that was a problem when I was in my 20s dating. And there was always an abundance of people to date. And then I joined the church, And the whole paradigm shifted. And I remember my visiting teacher set me up with who would become my husband, who's now my ex-husband, but also one of my very best friends, Josh. When she set me up with him, I remember saying, like, oh, first of all, I'm never going to find anybody in this church to date. Like, who's going to date me? I'm the biggest outlier there is, right? Like, here I am, like, black, vegan.
I'm disagreeing with you so far, but keep going.
But I'm telling you what my mindset was. Truly, imagine me.
All right.
Okay? I was like, that's it. I'm dying single. I'm never going to find anybody to marry in this church. That's what I thought in the beginning. And then, ironically, I remember even the day, I was so obsessed with this idea of just finding someone who I could be compatible with to date, and I let it go. I can remember the day. I called my visiting teacher, Erin Shepard, and I was like, Erin, you know what? I'm not going to stress about dating anymore. I'm just going to focus on getting to know God and nurturing my relationship with God, and I'm going to let it all go. And then, like, a week later, she calls, I have someone I want you to meet, and the rest is history. But so to bring, yeah, funny, right? But the point is, so I too have experienced going from being really confident about dating, not worrying about it at all, having an ease, and feeling like there's an overabundance of men, to joining the church and being like, I saw one cute guy at one event 6 weeks ago. And, and sitting in church and seeing nothing but, like, long hair and ponytails for rows and rows and rows, and then one suit, and So I feel like I've experienced it all, and there is a better way. I'm here to tell you there's a better way.
Well, my thought is, where I'm at right now is, one, I don't think it matters if there's like 100 guys that all want you, or if there's one guy that wants you, if that's the one guy. Because I don't think either of us are in a place where we're just trying to get tons of attention from guys.
Right.
It really just is the ones. I don't think there needs to be a huge abundance. I mean, obviously it helps with numbers or whatever, but for me, I think when you work on yourself, when you really just not become selfish, but just focus on, on hobbies and enjoying life and increasing yourself, increasing your, working on success and your future, then I think you become more attractive to other people, and people are attracted to women who are confident, and women are attracted to men who are confident, who have their stuff put together, and I think that when you're in a good place, and not just focusing only on work, and I'm not saying that in a success way, because I think you have to be well-rounded, and you're not going to be going to those things if you're just focusing on work, but go to different things, put yourself out there. But then I think that people you're meeting people when you're like trying bowling. Thanks to cable, I tried out bowling, and that was fun, and it was a lot of guys there who are being really supportive and stuff. And so I think when you're out there putting yourself out there, you become just naturally attractive, and then it comes to you. At least that's my hope. I'm sitting here single, so we'll see how that pans out.
But I feel like people can learn from the countless mistakes I have made as a single person, and the countless times I've kind of kicked myself or been down on myself, or I've been willing to subscribe to the scarcity mindset, and it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve any of us. And like you said, we only need one.
Well, and I think we all get there, especially when you have your eye on someone, you start to date them, and for whatever reason it doesn't work. Every time, like, I go through a breakup or just disappointment, ghosted, I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, I'm done with dating. There's no one out there for me. I can't imagine ever liking someone else ever again.
Yeah.
And I think it's human to go through those things and realize that that's kind of normal.
Got someone else.
What? What'd you say?
And then I said, and then the next week she's got someone else.
And Cable knows better. He's like, so who's the new one?
Okay, listen. I just want to make a comment. So my problem with the scarcity mindset is, and I get that it's a mindset, but people, both men and women, they sit there and they say, there's no one out there. There's no good guys out there. There's no good girls out there. But the reality is there's a lot of good people out there. What they're really saying is there's no good guys out there that I'm interested in. Yes. There's a lot of good guys out there. They're just not interested in those guys. So that's the problem with this whole concept that we're talking about is not that there's not people out there. There's not people out there that we're interested in. Because I've been in the same boat where I say, there's no one for me to date. But it's not that they're not out there. I have a lot of really great friends that are female that are awesome. There's just no romantic connection. And that's okay. That's not there with everybody, but that's one thing to realize, that there's a lot of good people out there, and just because I didn't make a connection doesn't mean someone else can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point.
It's true. And can we bring up, someone on the page, on the Facebook page, posted kind of an objection, or I think a point that is valid that probably a lot of people think and feel, which we touched on earlier a little bit, that
Sure.
not only, to your point, Cable, yes, like we all know people, but they're not necessarily the people we'd be interested in dating. And also her point was, but the reality is there really are like 2 women for every guy in Utah or something. You always hear about these statistics that are kind of discouraging when it comes to dating. And so she brought up, when she goes to events, there are always women who outnumber the men, and I was going to respond to that by saying what you brought up earlier too, like, okay, well, let's diversify. I mean, how many of us are diversifying and going to the different events you mentioned, like bowling or sports activities? Or I don't know how you feel or how a lot of people feel about dating outside the church, but I feel like for me, I never know where an opportunity is going to exist. So I like to open doors for myself rather than close them, although I totally respect if someone feels like 100%, I know I want a temple marriage, so I only want to focus on a priesthood holder. Or if a guy says, I only want to marry, Molly Mormon, I don't want to marry a girl who's not already endowed, or whatever. You can do that, just appreciate it's going to limit your choices. But for me, I feel like there's a whole world out there when I look at the whole world. And I look for a person who has a good heart and who's kind of on the same page with me. What do you think? I'm just curious. Do you guys only date members?
I've had a couple boyfriends who weren't
Mm-hmm.
after my divorce, and since then, for me, I've come to a conclusion that for what I'm looking for, and I'm not a Molly Mormon, but it's something that is really deeply important to me, and so I do want to share that with someone. That's important to me. I want to have that commonality, and then I find that the value differences are too big when I date outside the church. So that's just me. And to be honest, I don't know if I would say absolutely no if someone wasn't. It would really just depend.
Would it depend on his open-mindedness?
It would. I think it would. And you can't go into something just assuming someone's going to join the church, of course. But
yeah.
But then do you want to not give them a chance because they don't even know, or I don't know.
Well, so for me, the way I look at it is dating a member of the church is important. Would I date someone who's not a member? Sure. But the one key factor that has to be there is she has to respect my beliefs and I would never be in a relationship where she degrades my membership in the church in any way, shape, or form. So if she's open-minded about it, would I consider it? Yes. Is it my preferential what I want? No, not at all. I want somebody who is going to go to church with me every week. But
right.
It's to a point in life now where I also want to be happy and I want to find somebody, and I want someone who's a good person. So, there's a lot of really good people who are not members of the church, and we can find a lot of good people. And along with that, there's also, and this may be the topic for a whole nother day, but one conversation I've had a lot is not only about dating members outside of the church, there's so many spectrums of membership within the church that sometimes gets in the way of people dating.
Right.
And what people are looking for. So that's a whole nother avenue that, maybe someone's not on the same level as you are, church-wise, but if there's that, I think, mutual respect and of your beliefs and of where you're headed in life, then you can make a relationship work.
And I think some of that is really taking the time to get to know people and not making snap judgments,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I can do that either way sometimes, where they'll just do something, they'll just turn me off, like, no. Or I'm just I meet someone and I get really excited, and then I don't think overly attached, but then I just, I
Like,
just
yeah.
am in a way. And
Yeah.
so now I'm at a place where I'm like really just a lot more laid back and casual about things, and not in a way of being, I think, scared of commitment, because I really want to find someone. But I realize, like, I have these amazing friends, these guy friends that I can call when I'm crying, and they're so supportive. But it seems like some of the guys I've dated don't bring the same thing to the table. Like, I am, like, gung ho, and I put a lot of effort in, and I don't feel like it's matched. And so I'm like, now I just kind of want to wait and kind of get to know someone and see how they communicate, and some of those things, and same thing with maybe spirituality and stuff, because you really can't know. There's no checklist of, well, they go to church this many times, they go to this many meetings, they have a temple recommender, they don't, because we really don't know what their spirituality is or not.
It's so true. I have friends who have married men who were like in the bishopric or in the stake presidency and that kind of thing, and then they become inactive,
Yeah. Or they have hidden problems you don't know about, and
Right.
that could be okay, but as long as you know going into it, and sometimes that just takes a while to really
Yeah.
get to that level.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I wanted to get your take on a phenomenon that I've observed with dating in the church. And it could just be me, but I'm telling you from the point of view of a convert. So Cable and Caroline, tell me what you think.
Okay.
So you mentioned ghosting. And another phenomenon that I observed in the church versus before I was a member was this whole like 51st dates thing. For instance, it seems like a lot of people, not everybody obviously, right? But in general, there's this kind of cultural thing where people go on first dates and then they automatically detach from someone and they're like, nope, not my internal companion, moving on. And people don't like get to know each other because is it because of the pressure of eternity, or we're sizing up everyone for marriage automatically? So if lightning doesn't strike, we think, nah, moving on. It's so weird to me because guys outside the church will date you if they like you. Like if they like you, they'll just date you and until right, and they'll get to know you. Guys inside the church, and maybe girls do this too, will go on one date and be like, yeah, not on my list. Moving on. It's so weird. Like, and I hear a lot of girls complaining about this.
And I've honestly probably been guilty about it a little bit, where there'll be something I'm like, I just know, and it's partly that being a single mom where you just don't have that much time, so you're like, you can't go out very often. During the summer, I don't have the kids as much, and so I can go out every night of the week. But then if like I have one night every couple weeks, to go out, it gets really difficult to keep going out with someone that you're maybe not interested in. But at the same time, I find myself that sometimes I've developed interest in people that I didn't expect it for.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm trying to be a lot more open about it and just take my time, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to me too, where like I think things are going great and we're hitting it off, and then they're just like, yeah, I kind of lost interest. Like, well, is there a reason? Like, where'd you go? And it's just like it just shuts off, and then suddenly, it's like the axe comes down, and you're like, well, okay, so we're done, okay.
Yeah, and to me, that's more of a phenomenon in Mormon dating than it is in
I
me.
wonder.
I think we can kind of take a page. This is one area where the world probably, only one I can think of, where the world maybe does a better job than we do in the church of actually being patient enough to get to know someone. And I'm not talking about if a deal breaker comes up. Like if you know,
Yeah.
Get out of there, right? But I mean if like, oh, well, I don't know, he likes, he eats garlic and I like ginger. Never mind. Like, I'm telling you, I've had this happen to me. This guy broke up with me recently or didn't want to date anymore because I like garlic. Like, come on. I mean, it happened. I just think it's so odd in the church. And if I had that mindset. I could tell when I was dating my ex-husband, it felt like every date he was hardcore vetting me. And I literally said to him one time,
Stressful.
huh?
That's stressful.
It was stressful, right? And I said to him literally, like, will you relax? We're not getting married. Relax. And then 2 weeks later, we were married. But anyway.
so he was right.
Another story. But I was like, why is he vetting me so hard? Like, just relax and eat popcorn and watch the movie. Like, so.
Well, really, dating should be, I think, just getting to know someone. I think we really should just take the pressure off and just enjoy someone's company. Enjoy doing something out with, doing something out with someone, doing something different and fun and getting to know someone. Some of my best friends started with a date. And there wasn't any romance there for either both of us or one of us, but we ended up developing beautiful friendship. And if we just decide right off the bat, like, nope, that's it, then I think we really miss out. I think we do have this mindset, especially maybe still being single in our 30s or 40s or, again, that you just kind of want to get back into the marriage thing, or you feel like this is a segue of your life. But I think we really miss the richness of what we have. It's not all just we're either something or we might as well not be in each other's lives. I think there's such a beautiful spectrum of friendships and relationships, and it's fun getting to know people. It's really fun just to even having a little bit of that romance while you're trying to figure things out.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's kind of a little mind-blowing to me when it doesn't go that way, when you don't even know someone, but after one date they're like, yeah, happy trails. That's just so odd. And I have a friend, a sweetheart, this beautiful, amazing girl who's like my Facebook friend. Beautiful girl and really good heart. She hasn't been on a second date in 14 years.
Wow. Here's what's hard though, and I know we probably have to wrap this up. But here's what's hard is that you hear people complain. I mean, me as a female, I'm sure you hear it, that guys will complain that like a girl's not even interested and I'm taking out to dinner and she's just using me for meals. And so it's hard that you don't want to be that girl when you know that you're really not feeling that romantic interest. So at what point are you like, tell them? Because one time I recently told someone after like one date that he was so excited about going out again. I was like, well, just I might not be on the same page as you. And he was like, whoa, he had the same reaction as you. He's like, that was one date. Like, how do you know?
Okay.
And then I felt really bad. But then at the same time, like, do I want to have someone continue to take me out? And yeah, I love hanging out with them. But if they're really wanting something else that I am fairly certain that it's not going to be there, it's hard to know how to play that, because you want to be fair to someone. It is expensive to go on a date.
You do, but at the same time, like, the way I look at it is, are you 100% sure that you couldn't marry that person? Because if you're not, then why not go on another date?
Right.
And as a guy, if there's a chance of it working out, you're okay with putting some money down.
Sure.
And if you don't, some girls don't like guys to be spending all this money, then, maybe approach it that way. Say, look, I don't know if there's something here. I'm not sure if I'm feeling it. Let's hang out again. Let's go Dutch. Let's whatever. Next time it's my treat, whatever. Sure. There's a lot of options you can do, but I think, to me, the bottom line on this is don't cut it off when there's still a chance that it could work out, because you might be missing out on something pretty amazing.
True.
I agree. Are we out of time? Because I just wanted to make a challenge, a suggestion. Okay, we'll do it during the...
Okay, we do need to wrap this first part up, so thank you so much for joining us, Candy. We really appreciate all our listeners and watchers out there. Feel free to support us on Patreon. If you haven't heard about it, we're going to make a post in our group that talks a little bit more about it, just to kind of help further along this podcast and widen the reach of who it gets to. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate everyone being here.
Well, and let me just cut in for one split second. So we're going to conclude this. We've worked really, really hard to try to keep these as concise as possible to about 25 minutes. And it's really difficult because we always feel like we leave so much out. but we want to make it really accessible to everyone who's super busy. Like, we're all really busy, but we also have decided that we want to have the ability for people to continue the conversation if they want. So we're going to cut it off here, and then we're going to continue on and just have that as this part B segment to anyone who wants to listen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.